I started.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about a drunk loser. Ricky, you got stabbed and you suck. Rikidozan is
Fucking
a butt.
pussy.
Rikidozan is
I'd
a
never
butt.
be stabbed.
Yeah, not me. People try all the time. Dylan's tried a lot. That's why we're doing this over Zoom. Dylan and I are in the same house, but we very much we've Hunger Games the podcast. Whoever wins gets all the Patreon money and gets to murder their friend. What everyone wants coming out of
killing.
Yeah, the thrill of the hot burst of joy of your friend's blood on your face.
I like that Rikidozan, for those of you that haven't listened to part 1 and 2, what have you been doing?
Whoa, come on, get off your heimies and get to the podcast listening station.
But basically, Rikidozan just big fat drunk, like all wrestlers, big fat drunk, and everything went to his head immediately. This is where he gets paranoid.
How often do you picture Rikidozan in a tan suit just crying in the rain? No, you fucking listen. That's what I just pictured. It. Hey, Antonio. He's talking to Inoki. Antonio, fucking just come on. One more.
This is my favorite thing about Rikidozan. You can tell that he's a real drunk because his body's breaking down and he's washed up and he's nothing anymore and he looks like shit. He's 35.
Oh yeah,
we're older than Rikidozan, and we pretty much look the same as we did in our 20s. And Rikidozan,
hang on,
not hairline wise.
No, there you go. Yeah, let's be honest.
If we took our,
we look a lot more stressed now.
Yeah. If you just went chest down, they'd be like, that's the same guy. Is it because
I think we
always
look better?
Looked bad?
I'm gonna say this.
Oh, I look better.
I think we both look better than our 20s. Because we're both keeping it tight now. You know what I mean? Dylan's doing crunches.
Constantly dehydrated too.
Dylan is constantly dehydrated.
I mean, we're always dehydrated. I don't think I've ever been actually hydrated a day in my life.
I went to a spa and they put an IV in me and I felt great. And then they're like, all you got to do is drink water like every 45 minutes. And I was like, I will not be doing that. Do you understand how for some reason, yeah, that sounds like that's really easy. Do you know how hard I'll just lose the water bottle. Fuck you. I'm not doing that.
Eat my ass, suck my dick while you're eating my ass.
Yeah, get a big mouth.
Somehow. Yeah.
Put my legs in your mouth so you can suck my dick and eat my ass at the same time. Why'd you put both of my legs in your mouth?
Yeah, well, here's what you do is you eat my ass and then you also just freely, without looking, just throw a fleshlight where you think my dick is.
Whoa. What's that noise? Is that the noise of a fleshlight?
We've been talking about merch, and you know what? I think some used fleshlights.
Oh my god, Wrestle Review branded fleshlights? No, used. Even better, we resell used fleshlights. Ladies and gentlemen,
this one I don't know if the guy cleaned it out. It's more if he didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because you can make a baby out of this stranger.
Yeah, you can clone this stranger.
Clone this stranger with old, dirty cum. There's also dirt in all the cum.
Imagine we somehow play a small role in cloning happening. It all started when they were trying to talk about Rikidozan being a sad, drunk loser.
35.
Oh, I love it. Dylan, I don't know if you're lucky enough to have a bunch of friends. So Dylan and I are both in our mid to late 30s, which means I have
a bunch of friends. Yeah. Are we bragging about the number of friends we have?
We certainly are.
Like fucking 8-year-olds.
I was about to say, when you hit your mid to late 30s, you have a couple of friends that used to be real party animals in your 20s, just become people who have to go to rehab in their late 30s is what I'm currently experiencing. And let me tell you this about those people is the complaints from real alcoholics are real bummers. One recently was, it just feels like my asshole is going to fall out because I always have the runs. Was something recently revealed about being an alcoholic that someone said that I was just good God. That was said by a comedian.
Evocative and upsetting.
Comedian at a show who was holding a pint glass that definitely did not contain water. But it was clear. It was clear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the opposite thing where I do have some skits about this, but a lot of my friends went to AA, and then I said, I stopped because my tummy hurt, and then they thought that was like me being brave and not wanting to tell them. I'm like, no, I'm an open book, man. When I tell you that I stopped drinking because it was like legitimately, and this is still, I'll drink like once every couple months now, and I just have to accept the fact that for every drink I have, I'm going to take one long shit. So it's like if I have for some reason nothing to do the next day, and I don't know, if I bought a Nintendo Switch, I'd probably live a more on the toilet lifestyle, but, like, I just will spend probably 3 hours of a day shitting if I have, like, 6 beers. It'll be 30 minutes
Here's
per
my
shit because it doesn't come out like a blast like bran, it comes out like wet paper towel,
Oh, I know exactly the feeling you mean. I know
and your
what you
ass
speak of.
hurts.
Here's my problem is it just I quit smoking 2 years ago. I
Mm.
really liked smoking and drinking. I do not like just
That's
drinking.
true. That's true. That is honestly it, and
Like, it's
also,
just
like,
I like and it's like there's also
fentanyl,
like
man, I can't do chach and smoke and drink, fuck.
yeah, there's a bunch of other psychological factors to it, but there is a part of
There
it where
isn't.
I'm just like, it's like literally, it's like, give me a club sandwich, hold the bread. What are you doing? Like, you got to have the bread for it to be a club
Yeah, man.
sandwich.
That's actually very true. I wouldn't
Like,
even say I would use the analogy of mayonnaise. It's like you had a club sandwich and it's toasted, and you're like, "Where's the sauce?" They're like, "Oh, we didn't have any."
no,
Like,
you quit.
"Oh,
You actually
fuck."
quit the sauce because the sauce was making you feel horrific, and you actually feel much better. And what no one tells you about quitting smoking, your dick gets harder. I gotta say this.
You've mentioned this,
Why
I think,
is
on the chat episode. Yeah,
I'm never not gonna mention it because no one told me that when I was
blood
quitting
flow.
smoking. They were like, "Bro,
They didn't tell you that. Every pack of cigarettes has "you will be impotent" on it.
yeah, but no, I thought impotent. Yeah, they didn't say
You
trust
didn't do the
us.
math there. It's all blood
No,
flow, baby. It's all about
I
blood
did
flow.
not.
That's why I wear
Because listen, my
boxers.
dick was already nice and hard. I didn't think it could get harder. It gets harder, harder than hard now, Dill. Harder than hard.
Which is a value in your late 30s.
Yeah, my God, anything that's still
You
working
cut
on your
down.
body in your late 30s, well, you're just like, look at this, guys, we did it. Like,
I guess you could become a vegan. Then you're like the hardest dick in the world because you don't have that meat getting in the way of the blood flow.
but I have been a vegan. That didn't affect it. The one in COVID for like 2 months, I was basically Jordan Peterson, but I had a bunch of fruit as well.
I
Like, it
like
was only
that.
just meat and fruit. And a
That's a
good
diet.
God. Oh my God. Felt
That's like a
amazing.
fighter. There's some fighter diet that's like that. George St. Pierre did that or something.
I'm a fighter,
I am a fighter. Anyway, Rikidozan, the ripe old.
not a
This is what I
fighter.
love, how hard life was
Drinker.
in the 50s and 60s, where everyone had been through a world war. So they're like, "You're 35 anyway. What are you gonna do with the remaining 8 years of your life?"
I
You
assume
think?
you've already divorced a woman who was rude to you. I have. Good. Slut.
Oh yeah, man. If you got divorced from a woman in the 50s, you were fucked. You're fucked. Like you were fucked. How a woman they had no rights. And even then it was like, well, you can't vote. And not only that, you're banned from drinking water in public because no
It's
one wants to
also
see you get happier, but
This is
yet you
also
can
we're in
divorce this man.
Japan, which is historically in one of the like we're in Japan, which was in 1945. The Americans nuked two cities, showed up, and were like, "We're in charge," and everyone was like, "Wait, what?" And I said, "We are in fucking charge," and they were like, "I think we have to listen to these guys," and then they just put everyone who was part of their fascist weird government in jail, and then they were like, "Oh wait, we actually need people to be in charge of this government," so they're like, "Those guys are back. They're just now democracy people now." Like, it was like imagine, and all around that, Rikidozan is just drinking grain alcohol and being rude to people about his ideas. Nah, I win.
Well, yeah, and also like this is the other thing that happens during this time where we can jump around here, but he gets married and publicly in the paper people are like the Japanese hero of Korean descent. And that was his great fear, was that people would find out he was Korean, and no one really cared.
This is so well, they did really care because that is how he died, was it not? Was someone was like, we got to kill this Korean guy.
So there's a lot of theories on how he died, but mostly, I mean, this is me editorializing from reading all the
There we
theories.
go.
It
Go
just
on,
seems like
Perry.
people wanting to believe that something is more interesting than drunk guy was rude
Yeah.
and then got, because the other thing was, the when he gets stabbed, he had been in an altercation where he beat the shit out of that guy once before. So the guy was like scared of him, and that's how horrible shit happens like that. The guy was too scared and he got stabbed. Although I don't know, and then they thought he was going to pull through, and then he just didn't, which
That's
is
the
crazy.
crazy. Well, this is also medicine in the 50s. Like,
Tried leeches. Turns out he has no blood.
well, he wasn't stabbed in the heart or head, so we assume he'll live. Oh, he died. Turns out that was the lung. I didn't know we had those.
Turns out there's a lot more. I thought it was just God made you talk, but apparently there's these lung things. Who
Yeah,
knows?
evidently
Anyway,
there's veins in your legs. I'm a
he didn't
top body
respond well to the
doctor.
cigarettes I put in his body either,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Yeah, don't worry. He's been served 2 cocktails, so he's reacting well.
I gave him a steak sandwich. He should be fine.
Yes, no, I let him know that there was a woman downstairs trying to learn math, and he tried to get out of his bed to kill her. So I think that he's feeling much better.
So the Great Togo comes on Japanese tour in late 1959, and the Great Togo would be one of the people who ran some events with Rikidozan. Also, Rikidozan gets Antonio Inoki and Baba into wrestling,
Yeah.
and
So
this is really important. And I'm glad we never did an Inoki or a Baba episode before this, because he basically is like Giant Baba wins his first match and squashes the guy, and Inoki loses, and just basically completely favors Baba
it's
100%.
so interesting too. I've never seen someone, and by the way, talk about the psychology of a drunk person who's like, well, I have the person I like, and then I have to make sure that that person doesn't think I like them too much. So we need to create some chaos. So I know what I'll do. I'll have a second mentor who's possibly the most egotistical man ever to exist in wrestling, and I will wrong that man. I will make sure he feels like he's not respected, and
Dude.
I will, like, it's literally like older brother meet nemesis. Like,
Oh
the
no, this
idea
is great. This is the
Giant
first time
Baba,
Inoki
baseball
meets
star,
Baba. Yes, go for it.
squash him. Antonio
Yeah.
Inoki, like Brazilian Japanese muscular god, you will lose.
Here's the first time he meets Inoki. This is from Inoki's words. I participated in a national track and field meet in Sao Paulo. There was a journalist who reported I became a record holder in the discus to throw at that meet. He told Rikidozan that he knew a promising athlete. It attracted his interest, and he asked the head of the vegetable market to bring me to a hotel. That's really good. Get me the manager at this grocery store. I found an athlete. When we entered his room, I didn't want to know what to say to that imposing figure with a remarkable aura. And then he said, Rikidozan smiling, he goes, strip yourself at the waist. Strip yourself to the waist, sorry. After staring at me for a while, he said, show me your back. I turned around nervously. Then Rikidozan patted me on the shoulder, said, let's go back to Japan together. And then he said to his employer, as if this isn't creepy enough, let me take care of this young boy.
Oh boy. My word, this really seems like a you look
Good
like
tits,
you
good
dance
ass,
situation.
you look ready to get pounded.
Yeah.
Get on the plane. All right.
You ever want to be in the moving pictures, Antonio? What?
Hey, there's a lot of terminology for it, so let's not get bogged down. I
How
want to
weird.
force myself on you sexually. I just want to say that very clinically. And
Hi, Antonio. My name is Rikidozan. There's 2 lawyers here. I want to let you know what they have written out as a contract that you're going to sign that is going to let me. Are you ready for this? Put my full body weight on your body weight. Do you know what that means?
So here's the thing about wrestling is that all the marks think I like if they know it was consensual, then that's bad. It's the 50s. Sorry, continue.
Hi, Antonio. Are you familiar with soaking? It was developed by the Mormon religion, and it actually means that it isn't any sort of sexual contact. But when we're back in Japan, what we're each going to do is take turns inserting ourselves completely into each other's body cavities and then not moving. No muscular shuddering, no nothing. And you stay there pious, holding your muscles tight. It helps the core. So when you're in the ring, your abdominals look good. And also you can drink.
But it's amazing. It's amazing because it's like, so Baba's baseball career, an injury ends it, and essentially he goes, "Oh, cool, Baba, do you want to be in wrestling?"
Because I assume
Immediately they're
Baba's
not
a
on
star,
the same
and it's
level.
like,
Yeah, immediately they're not on the same level though, which is hilarious. Where it's like, "Ooh, cool. Would you like to do wrestling? Okay, cool. How'd you get into wrestling?" He looked at my penis for 10 minutes and hummed and hawed and said, "I guess that's fine. I'll work on a surgery to make it better."
yeah, like it's the whole thing with their rise as his mentors. No shit, they hate each other. Like it's literally like Giant Baba got a baseball injury, came in and was gifted a bat that he could use to beat up Antonio Inoki. And Antonio Inoki, like, how did he get into the building? Well, Rikidozan brought me to Tokyo, left me at the airport, said, "See you at the match." Ha ha, figure that out. And I had to find where the Tokyo Dome was with no money. completely naked. Oh, did I tell you he made me
Yeah.
fly completely naked for some reason? But I'm a
Your
man
first
now. I'm
match
strong.
is against the world. I'm dropping you off in Milwaukee, and you have to make it to Tokyo in an hour.
Yeah, you have to swim to Tokyo. Fuck you, Rick. And for some reason, by the way, Rikidozan calls Antonio Inoki Rick now.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
You're me, but worse. So you're
Yeah, you're me, but
Rikidozan.
you're me. You're the sober me. I'm the drunk me. Drunk me's fun. Sober me deserves punishment because sober me doesn't know how to stop me from drinking. Time to kill myself.
So apparently he orders the class to do 50 Hindu squats, and when he finished another 50, Inoki successfully completed this class, and Ricky invited him to join the JWA. So you're right. It's exactly like it's kind of like the way I don't know because it's not exactly their relationship isn't the same at all, but it's almost like anyone in Kurt Angle. I don't know, like Edge works his way up and he has to actually do things. Oh, he's got all those road gigs, and Kurt Angle's already a star, so he just gets in.
Yeah, like
Any athlete that comes into wrestling is already on a higher tier
can
than
you
a guy who
believe
just
Matt
wants to be a
Riddle?
wrestler.
Yes, basically, Giant Baba is Matt Riddle.
Although Matt Riddle, as if you look at, it's so funny the way they do things in wrestling because like they decided Matt Riddle was a striker, and it's like there's like all these memes of Matt Riddle literally being the worst at punching in the history of the UFC, where he just runs forward. It's like he does Taibo, but his body's at a 90-degree angle, running forward, and a guy just knocks him out. It's very funny.
It is very funny.
He just runs over like,
Can I
it's
just say
like,
this
yeah,
about UFC fighters that go into other industries? They're
tell
never
me.
the good ones. Is that right? Like it's always just like this guy got beaten up by Dana White's kid, and now he's the Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. It's like none of them do the Brock Lesnar thing where it's like, oh, this totally makes sense. You're leaving at the crest of when you should. It's always like, well, these guys offered me something 6 years ago, and I've been knocked unconscious constantly since then. Better go there. Oh wait, they want me to remember something? Well, I can't do that because I only know yellow, blue. Sorry, that happens sometimes. I
I just
only
want
can
to
only
know. I
think and say colors.
do you. How often do you think about Brendan Schwab? Because I think about him all the time
I
in terms
never
of.
think about him. I'm
Uh,
past him now.
I
He's
will
nothing
never
to
be.
me.
I will never be past. Who is this guy? This guy is he's an ultimate fighter, and he's not that great at it. But he's friends with a guy who does stand up comedy, and for some reason, he's just in stand up comedy now. And good, and literally the
Because of
entire
Joe
internet
Rogan, man.
hates him.
This is the thing. Someone said Joe Rogan. The only person I think to assert you actually hit on it a while ago, and I'm sorry we're talking about Joe Rogan, but I think it's been a year since I banned us from talking about him. But it's like the influence that dude has within comedy is only like it like went Johnny Carson, then Howard Stern, then Joe Rogan, because it's literally like, and I don't even think
Yeah,
Howard Stern is as influential because it's like one interview on Joe Rogan. Like Joe Rogan talked about how funny Tim Dillon was. Now he's like everywhere. Joe Rogan basically was like Brendan Schaub is funny. Now hate him or whatever, but he has a career. Theo Vaughn, Tom Segura, all these guys in the Joe Rogan sphere are all like Netflix people, and also somehow don't have that Rogan stink on them.
some do, some
It's
don't. So
weird.
I know like I wouldn't say like I'm acquaintances to friends with a person or two that's within that sphere.
Okay.
And it also is dependent on like when you were on, when you were not. Like Segura, Burt Kreischer, Ari Shafir, Joey Diaz, those guys are so like OG. They're kind of like, well, they were friends with this guy, they were on his podcast, but they're not on it as much. Ari still is. You know what I'm saying? Like it all just sort of they spun off from. To relate it back to Ricky Dozan is sort of like a figure like Joe Rogan or appears in any sort of type of show business carnival thing, which is it's very very important, and you can see these influences kind of like shoot out and carry forward of this is the guy we like, these are the guys he likes, I like those guys. What is weird is that's never worked really in North American wrestling. It never worked with Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was never confident enough to build up his own
It always
replacements.
came across
Ric
to
Flair was never able to, like, it's an interesting thing with Japanese wrestling. And Ricky Dozan, for all of his faults and his drinking and his sadness and his weird shits, he was in a way able to solidify a legacy super early on because he basically created, here's what I'll do. I'm going to create a country and then I'm going to orchestrate a civil war in that country and then die. And then they will never forget Ricky.
well, this is the thing is that I think that's the difference between the styles of wrestling where it's like you can't really have that grand endorsement because WWE. I think I don't know. I don't know. Like I haven't watched obviously complete years of territory wrestling, but it's like just that feeling that you have from being a Japanese wrestling fan is guys like Rikidozan are real. And like obviously Hulk Hogan, you love Hulk Hogan and stuff as a kid maybe, but like he's not really real. So when he endorses someone, it just comes off like way hokier than Rikidozan calmly being like, "This is my friend, and you have to be on his side." Like, whereas and that's the thing, like, when you honestly endorse something, you're obviously gonna sell it way better than like The Rock trying to get Roman Reigns over, where it's like, I get like this guy, it just comes off as disingenuous. There's no like every other time with all these performers, it always had taken something like The Rock time to be like, no, yeah, well, you earned my respect by beating the shit out of me because I'm The Rock and my character's a dick, versus like Roman Reigns, where he's like, he's a good guy now, just cheer for him now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. There is also, I think, something to the fact that Rikidozan is dead, and it's sort of this thing of the rub he's given to people can never be given again. They will be
yes.
perpetually locked in fulfilling the prophecy of being like the next Rikidozan. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it would be like if The Rock held up Roman Reigns' arm at that Royal Rumble, got booed, had a heart attack, and died, or like was stabbed by Brent Gewirtz on the way back to his car. You know what I mean? That's the thing that no one sort of talks about Rikidozan's legacy. I know we haven't really talked about his wrestling, but this is the last time we're talking about him. His legacy is the most impressive part of him at this point because he's essentially still considered like the great grandfather of all Japanese wrestling.
Well, he very much is, yeah.
But in a way that no one else in wrestling gets that credit. In the way that it's not
Uh-huh.
like AEW is like, let's pour one out for fucking oh my god, who's the Oh My Boy guy?
Oh, Jim Barnett.
Yeah, like they're not fucking praising Jim Barnett
But this is like
or
this is why Rikidozan is so special. It's like if Hulk Hogan was also Toots Mont,
that's what it is. It's the yeah. If Hulk
but he's
Hogan was
also a
also
piece of
Toots
shit. So
Mont,
it's like
yeah. If Hulk Hogan was also Hulk Hogan and also Toots Mont, and we don't need to say
that's
piece
funny.
of shit because both of those people were definitely pieces of shit. Like
I
there
want
is
to do
no
a
way that.
Toots Mont episode just because his name's Toots and everyone was like scared of him, scared
Oh
of a
my
guy named
god,
Toot.
why
Oh
weren't we
no,
smart?
Doctor Jizz is gonna fire me,
Yeah, why weren't we smart and in our 20s just insisted that people use our nicknames? Like we even had
Toots.
examples. We knew two different comedians that had nicknames that we didn't think we should do that too. We could have been
Mm.
Snoopy and Dr. Jizz.
I mean, I feel like Snoopy would do a bit better booking corporates than Doctor Jizz, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, but they come together. They come together. And
Snoopy and
also we
Doctor
never
Jizz.
explain which one of us is Snoopy and which one is Dr. Jizz.
Yeah, everyone reads left to right, and we just keep on mixing up who's on the
Exactly.
left.
We keep, yeah,
I like that.
maybe exactly. Who's
Well, let's talk
he's
about his
Snoopy.
wrestling then.
No, I'm Snoopy. No, he's Snoopy. No, I'm Snoopy. Go ahead.
Um, let's talk about his wrestling then. Here it is. Rikidozan was so stiff in the ring, much like John's penis now that he doesn't smoke cigarettes,
Thank you, Dylan.
that Tex, fuck, what the fuck is this motherfucker's name? I fucking just had it. Fuck you. It's Tex McKenzie, which is great. Just took 8 seconds to name himself. Tex McKenzie. I'm going back to bed. Um, he complained so much that they just took him off of the tour, and King Curtis Iakea took his spot. Now that's
Amazing.
important because
I,
it's
by
like
the way,
I
have
you hit me
seen
too hard. I don't want to make $1 million. Like that's
Tex
fucking great.
McKenzie, by the way, I have seen wrestle. He is he is
You just
featured in a lot of Colt Cabana, John Hastings bad wrestling clips.
is
And he's
he?
a you've seen a clip with him. I remember he's got curly hair, a wispy mustache. He's fucking huge. And he
Mhm.
just gets in the ring and high knee steps it and then just throws wild haymakers. Yeah, I could see how he wouldn't like wrestling Rikidozan because I guarantee that guy does not know how to wrestle. So he got in the ring
Oh
and Rikidozan
yeah,
had a bunch of fucking peach
I see him.
schnapps and then broke the bottle in his ass.
I do like the big Tex McKenzie. There you go. Yeah. Well, the other thing he was do is oh yeah, Tex McKenzie was. I remember this from what's his name, from Jim Ross's book. He was one of the guys who used to just pick on giant haystacks.
Yes, he did
He
just
was
pick
like
on giant
fat, fat,
haystacks.
fat, fat, fat. Hey, Rikidozan, you hit me too hard. Pardon me. I'm just gonna shoot a gun full of pudding at this guy so he's fatter,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna fucking spit on him.
Rick, fists hurts. unlike words. Here's a
Yeah.
word for you. You stink.
Stop hitting me so hard. I'm gonna go pinch the fat guy's nipples and run away so he can't catch me. Tex is at it again. Pinch, pinch, run.
Rick, if you hit me that hard again, I'm going to be forced to torture a fat person more. Now, you understand how this pain gets carried out.
You know what they say about Tex McKenzie. You don't want to face me in a match, and that would, of course, be quietly finishing a porterhouse steak, medium rare, and then the match is it takes 19 hours. I digest it before you.
Yeah,
That's the
the match
match.
is we each have a nice meal. I'll be having a quarter ounce steak or whatever. I don't really know measurement. I'm not a woman.
I don't
And
measure anything. I just eats it. My name is Tex.
Tex, that's my full name. My from Oregon, actually. My dad's just a drunk guy. Anyway, so yeah, doesn't love me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna slice that steak, and whoever digests shits, wipes their ass, and then can meet a woman wins.
Whoever the soonest to get a full erection after eating 3 steaks wins the match. My dad's undefeated.
Yeah, makes me see his dick every
Uh,
day.
Great Togo was the booker for Rikidozan. He did a great job. Huge crowds of people gathered to see the great Antonio's arrival at the Hyundai airport. They drew a bunch of people to watch Rikidozan beat the great Antonio. And this, of course, the great
How often
Antonio.
do you think about Antonio Inoki's chin? He has the most to a point chin I've ever seen a human being. Like, he literally looks like a political
He
cartoon.
is the Chad. He's the Chad meme. The Giga
He
Chad
is
meme.
the Chad meme. Holy
He's the
shit.
Giga Chad meme. So here's the other thing is, you fucking piece of shit. The great Antonio, which I'm sure this is such a backstory to. Have you ever seen the clip of Antonio Inoki just knocking out the fat guy?
I have, yes.
Yeah, that's the great Antonio. So the great Antonio comes in, he fights Rikidozan. 100% is kind of like the equivalent of when we talk about how some wrestlers would call Vince McMahon Jr.
Yeah.
And he's already pissed off. He won't sell any of Inoki's offense, and Inoki just fucking knocks him out because he's like, "You're fucking me over. I'm stronger." Like it's
Oh, I
so
love
crazy,
that
but I'm
so
stronger
much.
than Rikidozan. I can beat up the guy. I can easily beat up the guy that that Rikidozan had problems with or whatever.
That's amazing. I got to tell you, Rikidozan, like, what a legacy built by a man who I guarantee had horrific breath.
Oh wow, that is such a good call. He probably has top 5 worst breath. It's just always cigarettes, booze, and recent vomit.
No, and also food. The thing that we always forget is the oh fuck, I
That's
better
good.
eat something. And then it's just like, what did you have? Like,
That's really
I
funny.
bought a bunch of pasta salad from the grocery store. And you're like, oh, why would you eat that at this time of
Can't
day?
eat pasta. No, he'd be like a fucking. He'd just be like one of those guys. Can't eat pasta, so I gain weight. So I just drank a bunch of ketchup. That's food.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
So Great Antonio gets and I don't know if this is the first time this is done, but he gets the whole fucking Japanese monster treatment. He's throwing chairs all around. He beats a
Woo!
bunch of mid carders to show how strong
Woo!
he is, and then he draws an
Woo!
amazing card
Woo!
against Rikidozan, who I'm sure just like actually punches him in the face for 15 minutes before pinning him.
Yeah. I am the daddy. I am the daddy.
You are a fatty. I am a naughty.
Yeah. Also, Rikidozan came to the ring by just reading a bunch of stuff that Antonio Inoki wrote in his diary. Oh,
That's
what
really
type of
funny.
devil is
Oh,
5?
you
I
like
read
her?
PP.
Ooh, you get
Oh, you
married,
have a
Mr.
crush on
Pussy
the girl that
Boy.
sells peanuts at the arena. Guess what? She's had sex with me now.
Yeah, he would do that.
Yeah.
Ooh, I saw you writing little letters to this mom. Well, I had sex with mom.
Yeah.
What?
Rick,
My mom? No, someone else's still
just
counts.
to let you know that I could do it to your mom. I had sex with my mom. Watch out. Watch out, Antonio.
Honestly, the people that Rikidozan fights during this period are amazing. He fights Mr. X. Mr. X pins Rikidozan. He also has a match against a guy named Mr. Atomic, which is insane because that literally is 15 years
I'm
previous.
like,
They had
excuse
an
me.
entire Isn't that insane?
That would be like, okay, so in 1960, the main event in West Berlin is Holocaust Man versus Jim.
No, who? Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you've been to the Israeli Wrestling League? Been to? Oh my God, I'm playing their main heel. Um, Holocaust camp. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Hitler.
concentration camp man.
Yeah,
Not
that would
even Hitler though, because Hitler, like that'd be like if
yeah, so no,
he
it's the
faced like
it's literally the
Eisenhower.
yeah.
It's the concept of an atomic bomb that he's beating up.
Yeah, he's beating up the notion of genocide.
Yeah.
And in this corner, the idea of murdering people at scale. Like
Yeah, exactly. Like if if it was a liberal wrestling league, he'd be like fighting, I don't know, individual rights or something. Not
yeah.
individual rights, but
Yeah.
like a guy who I don't know. Fuck, I fucked it up.
Well, Dylan isn't liberal. Dylan is deeply conservative. He
I
voted for
wish.
Pierre Poilievre or whatever that fucking guy's name is in Canada.
I always do a write-in vote for Ayn Rand, and then I put in brackets, but a dude though, because
Yeah.
I ain't voting for no bitch chick.
Ayn Rand, but he's a guy now.
Ayn Rand so far away, this fucking slut. You can use that. Anyway, I wonder if Ayn Rand was like, "Hey, you gonna go down on me? No, you go down on yourself. People take care of themselves." And then she left.
I mean, what's
Um,
funny about Ayn Rand, and I was like, I wonder where she got that philosophy. And then I read literally 2 sentences about her life, which was her family owned a bunch of hat shops that were destroyed by Leninists, and then she had to move to New York and live in a one-room apartment after having a big ass house. And I was like, all right, I got it. I
oh,
figured out
that's
where
fun.
Ayn Rand came from. Yeah, like it's one of those ones where I was like,
But it's crazy
well,
that like her hat
question
shops get
answered.
destroyed, and then she's like sitting in that apartment, and she's like, "I shouldn't have this apartment. I should have nothing." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Why did the state give me this? I should have nothing again. This
yeah.
fucking piece of shit. I
Why
should
did
sleep
my
in
dad
dirt.
work hard for this piece of shit? Fuck you. You should be an artist or the captain of industry or nothing. Weirdly,
Giant Baba, still one of the underrated funny names in wrestling history because it's like, you might want to change your name when you come to America. Why? It's literally you almost named Giant Diaper.
yeah, you're
Mm,
named kind of like giant thing a baby wants. Like it's really weird.
okay, and then you're fighting Giant Bobo, which is
Yeah,
Gooby.
yeah, you'll be fighting giant. Want to go?
Okay, and I guess your arch nemesis is being tickled because you go into a
Yeah.
laughing fit and everyone
hmm
goes, "Aww."
hmm I think the weirdest thing about Giant Baba is that when he died for like a bunch of time, they just put his boots at the top of the arena like he was still watching.
That's good.
But he hadn't wrestled in years. So it's
And
like,
then
are
you would
you
always job to the boots.
exactly? Yeah, you still the
And
boots
then the
actually
boots
became the
would be,
champion for some
oh
time.
no, the magical boots.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's nothing better, by the way, than the business decisions of any wrestling company in Japan because it's always going so well and then it just collapses in such a fascinating manner, as I'm sure we're going to see with Rikidozan's company coming up here in a bit.
Every wrestling company is exactly the same. Oh, this is going well. Guy in charge of wrestling company, but I never lose. Like it's the exact same thing. Anyway, just we have 6 minutes left on this thing
And then we'll
because
just redo it for the next half. Don't worry.
yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. So Rikidozan, pardon me, Giant Baba trains
Thank you.
in Toronto. Giant Baba.
Oh!
Who's that at Sneaky D's? It's Giant
Oh my
Baba.
God, is he having the nachos? Is he sat at the table I sat at when I accidentally took really strong MDMA and saw the sunrise inside?
Whoa, Giant Baba's a fuckboy now.
Yeah, Giant Baba's like John Hastings in 2010, filled with anxiety.
Ooh, Giant Baba actually can't make it to your show because he heard Drake's gonna be at a club later, so he's skipping it.
Yeah, he's heading to the Tattoo Rock parlor to see
Oh
that
yeah.
guy Edwin bartend. God, I hope that guy still isn't doing that. God, I hope that
That's the
guy's
thing
not
that
still
sucks
doing that.
about every other country in the world. You get on TV and you're like solidified as famous, and in
Not
Canada, it's
true.
like, no, you're just gonna go back to HR, and people are gonna be
But
like,
that's not true.
fuck
That's
you.
not true in Britain. Like like they always say that about Canada. That's true everywhere. I live in Los Angeles. I took
That is
yoga
true.
classes from someone who was on 2 different sitcoms I remembered, and I was too awkward to acknowledge it. So I was just like, yep, yeah, I don't remember you from being on the show Titus.
Is it Stacy Keach?
It was not imagine. God, I wish we
I
did
wish it
yoga
was
with
Stacey.
Stagey Geach. Namaste, you soft fucks.
Yeah, he'd be texting the whole time. There was a Stacy Keach movie where he just like clearly was. First of all, he just didn't take his watch off, and he was like every single line was. If you have the video, he's like looking off camera and then says the line again, and then while people are talking, he's looking off camera to read their lines off camera, and
Oh
then
yeah,
reads his
the
own.
Gotti movie. Clear. If you've not seen the John Travolta Gotti movie, you have to see it. It's insane. Possibly the best part of it is Stacy Keach plays his like old mentor, and clearly Stacy Keach is like, "Listen, I'm doing this entire role sat down." Because there are so many scenes where why
You're
is he
not
saying?
paying me stand money.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, it takes a lot more for the Keach man to stand up.
Yeah, my name's SK, not stupid cuck. All
Do
right.
you do you remember the excellent Stacy Keach vehicle, Mike Hammer, which was a show about a private
That
eye, but he
sounds
dressed
good.
like a private eye in the 30s, but he was in 80s New York and he just wore a fedora. Full would murder the person who did the murder in every episode and then just had sex with a lady. It was
Yeah, on top of
there
the murdered corpse.
there's a type of show that no longer exists that needs to come back, and it's called it's called vigilante shows, where it's just like, who's this guy? And he's like, he did something that was law enforcement adjacent 10 years ago. Now he just lives in New York City and he just full on shoots the poor. Welcome to the Equalizer.
Oh
Hello.
yeah, Reagan, baby. That's all the Death Wish is like. He gets the gist
Oh
that
my God.
someone might deal drugs, and he's like, "Not on my watch." And he just shoots us. There's like one where a guy's just skateboarding in a leather jacket, and he shoots him, but he's snarling, so you think he's a crack dealer. We're
Death
gonna take
Wa-
a break, and then we're
Death,
gonna come back.
yeah, we're gonna come back and we will be talking exclusively about Death Wish Free. Three. Bitch.
Excellent. So Giant Baba gets over
Giant
in
baby blanket.
Mr. Giant Baby Bottle gets over in America, which Rikidozan hates.
Hates. Does not like that at
Fucking
all.
hates it.
Yeah, first
You're
of all,
supposed to be good,
Rikidozan.
not that fucking good. Fuck
Yeah,
you.
you're supposed to be good. You're not supposed to be, wait a minute, who's that guy? He's not Rikidozan, but he's better good.
Yeah, and also like Giant Baba's character. I mean, I haven't watched any of these matches, but I'm gonna say it wasn't fun. Like it was
Oh
just like,
yeah.
I'm Asian, that's bad. They were probably like,
Yeah,
I
there
didn't
is
know they grew that big. This guy
Yeah.
must be a proud
He-
Nordic.
He's tall. There's no way that he likes America. We better kill him and then live in his body.
First, we're gonna beat him up, then we're gonna breed them out of our species. Eugenics. High five. Everybody.
How often do you think someone commented on the fact that Giant Baba was both Japanese and tall? Like, I
I
guarantee
think that was his whole character.
I guarantee that Dutch Mantel still can't bring it. Like Stan Hansen, I fucking love that man. He was so tall in Japanese.
Yeah, it's just them. All they talk about is him and Kenzo Suzuki.
Yeah, I remember being in Tokyo. For some reason, I always just worked out my legs, not the rest of my body, because
So
yeah, let me see it.
he has a big tournament, which these always work out. Rikidozan does. He wanted to secure all the champions. He wanted Pat O'Connor from the NWA, Vern Gagne AWA, Freddie Blassie from the WWA, and Edward Carpentier, and top names like Buddy Rogers and Bruno Sammartino. Basically, this guy wants a fucking dream tournament of everyone that means anything in wrestling. And he would made a deal with Jules Strongbow, who's a part owner of the LA territory. And knowing the NWA would never allow him to win the NWA title, he made a deal with Strongbow, paying $25,000 for the opportunity to defeat their current champion, Freddie Blassie, and wear the belt for a specified amount of time. And this is the thing where it's like, I wish that it was okay in wrestling. Not okay in wrestling. I think they're kind of doing this now, but it's just like alternate universes where it's like, I think every wrestling company wants them to be the same universe, but it's like, it'd be fun if like Matt Cardona was, like, for lack of a better example, Matt Cardona was this in the NWA and just Zack Ryder in Impact Wrestling or something. And it was just like, nope, these are completely different. Just face it. Like, this guy's strong here, he's not there. Or vice versa, you know?
Yeah. I've been thinking about this a lot, and this does pertain to both this story and modern wrestling. We just got to take a walk for a second. There has to be a way of, how do I say this? There are certain wrestlers and guys that you just allow are going to be good in one place and not good somewhere else. Like if Jungle Boy goes to the Fed, I'm going to be like, well, he has to start an NXT. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's a guy, like he's so much more imprinted AEW versus WWE. And I think what is interesting is Giant Baba, by going to the States, I think gives the illusion of like, oh, he can go everywhere. He's like, you know what I'm saying? He's the worldly version of wrestling in that same way of kind of Christian Cage. It's like he can be anywhere. And I'm kind of like, yeah, Christian Cage is just below the main event always. Like he's never going to be a champ. He's
Yeah,
just kind of
Intercontinental
there.
title guy. Yeah,
He's an Intercontinental title guy. And he's just, he moves around enough. And it's this interesting thing of Giant Baba by doing this. I guarantee had that mystique with the Japanese fans in a way that Antonio Inoki never got. And I do wonder, do you think that that was an intentional thing by Rikidozan, or was that just luck and happenstance of Giant Baba went over when he did? And Inoki does go over later to the States and stuff like that and has a pretty good American career. Do you know what I mean? Like he has that fun match with Muhammad Ali that's bad.
I think Inoki is just like meaner looking. Like Giant Baba, I feel like you could show to children and he would be like, that's a nice man. Why are they attacking that nice man? Versus Inoki is kind of like, I guess it's kind of like Hogan and Savage, to be real. Like it's like he's Savage was awesome, but like he had that thing where it's like
What's vulnerable about him? Yeah.
Well, not what's vulnerable about him, more like it's two different types of TV show. Like the NWA and WWF in the 80s were like the 80s WWF was like exactly like Saturday morning programming, and that's how Vince McMahon Sr. and Jr. liked it, which was the good guy always wins. Come back next week. This is just
for
like
a good guy to be enjoying more victories.
It's comfort television versus the NWA was like, oh, the bad guy got away with the belt again. You get to see the good guy win for 2 weeks and then he loses again. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, life is hard. Life is pain, kids. Learn to hate.
Exactly, which is like better for adults. Like adults obviously want to see the bad guy, want to see a chase and have more drama, like, you know, than me. But I'm totally like, I'd way rather watch like Frasier than Breaking Bad. And that's why I like the WWF, where it's like, oh, Hogan won again. Why are you going to watch it next week? I don't know. I like seeing him win.
Yeah. I like it when people that want to fuck my wife win.
Yeah. I don't know where. No, I mean, actually, I do know where Ric Flair stands on it. Both of these men who desperately want to fuck anyone.
Yeah.
One good. So anyway, that'd be an amazing tag team if they just fucking, if the sex tape had happened before the racism, obviously, but the sex tape have happened in the 90s, and then
I gotta tell you, if
the
that
pussy
whole
fuckers,
thing,
him and Ric
I got
Flair.
news for you. If the sex tape and racism had happened in the 90s, nothing would have changed about his career.
That's true.
Nothing.
They would have been the proper time for it. So
people would have literally, like, they would have been having crossfire style debates, being like, well, listen, I'm also concerned about black men meeting my daughter.
But what do you say to the fact that they're bad?
Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
But like,
and what I want you to acknowledge is I don't care for them.
We're being silly little babies and like obviously making some bad things to say, but like if you were alive in the 90s, you're old enough, that shit used to fucking happen.
Oh yeah.
Like that, there would be like think piece talk shows where like exactly this would be said, where it'd be like, well, how do you respond to the fact that they commit more crimes? Where's the statistics on it? In my head.
Yeah. I'm going to say it again.
2 crimes, black people.
I've said it before.
White, 0 crimes ever.
I'll say it before and I'll say it again. That volunteer at that White House wooed the president.
Yes, this is
into
big.
Making
fat ugly bitch.
Yeah, that yucky girl. That she's not thin enough for me.
I'll tell you this. The only crime here is that the president had a dry dick for even a second.
Yeah.
Because that whore should have been sucking his dick, and I am talking about his wife.
Yeah. Why the hell?
That would be like women. That was, oh yeah, the Dana Carvey sketch afterwards that was like, and it got huge, it killed, and it was just about how the church, Dana Carvey's church lady, and it was just about how the Hillary should have been sucking him off, and everyone was like, fuck yeah. Anyway,
yeah,
enough Hillary, let's talk about Freddie Blassie.
Oh yeah, speaking of someone else who blames his wife for everything. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Freddie Blassie, a man whose none of his kids talked to him for his entire life.
100%. Why wouldn't
open about it?
Open to death.
Yeah, he was married to a woman for some time, left her for a Japanese lady, and his kids never talked to him again, and he seemed fine with it. Welcome to Freddie Blassie. Definitely a guy who was a fun person to be a wrestler around, and definitely not someone you want to be your dad. I sure the
original Ric Flair, Freddie Blassie. Anyway, Freddie Blassie immediately gets over because he tries to book this whole tournament. Rikidozan does, but he ends up with just Blassie, which who gives a shit? A reporter yells out Japanese phrase. Blassie yelled back, "What does that mean?" The translator replied, "Vampire." And because he walked
He
off the
bit
plane.
people.
Yeah, because he bit someone on television and it caused five, de- uh, six elderly men, sorry, to die of heart failure. And then he
Yeah,
basically said they should have had stronger hearts.
yeah. This is the craziest thing. Is this real? There's no way this is real.
So in Blassie's autobiography, so take that for a grain of salt, here's what happened. Here's what's written. The television were only black and white then, so Blassie's hair looked white. His eyes were popping out and he had blood all over himself. He was really frightening. In the past, Foreign Heel would come in and lose. Then he would accept his loss like a Japanese athlete would. Blassie was the only wrestler when he lost would still wanted to bite someone. In Japan, which is an orderly society, we didn't have this kind of maniacal man. Only 50% of the population had TVs, so big groups of people sat together to watch wrestling. There still wasn't an understanding of the distance between yourself and the television. It was like Freddie Blassie was coming into your house. Blassie said, "If you're too old or ill, don't watch me on TV. If you do, you get what you deserve." Which is crazy, where it's like people will, oh, I can't believe WWE wrote Eddie Guerrero's addiction to that Kurt Angle storyline. It's like, this guy actually killed people and he's like, you're a poon bag. And also, Ox Baker, a guy died in the ring, and Ox Baker's whole character was, I kill people. They're dead
Yeah,
now. And people are like, this is just good old fashioned wrestling.
there's a bunch of Ox Baker video posters and stuff. You can see him wearing a shirt that he clearly sold, which said "Heart Puncher" or "Killer Heart Puncher" on
Yeah,
it. And I gotta
exactly.
tell
And
you,
also
I want
him
one of those
punching
shirts.
the dirt around that man's grave
Oh
and
yeah,
being like,
yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
dead again.
Oh yeah, he also kept trying to punch that man's wife. You're going, you're going with your husband. You're going with your husband.
Yeah, that was and
No,
Ox
he
Baker.
drinks.
Ox Baker was like a silly guy who was on fucking Price is Right.
Yeah, Ox Baker is a silly guy who was in fucking Escape from New York. Oh, you ever fart and before it's out of your ass, you're like, this is gonna stink, and it
Of course,
does.
I know from birth
Oh,
to death about my farts.
oh.
Rikidozan gets engaged to a 21-year-old flight attendant. Some
No,
things
here we
never
go. Time
change.
to fly towards my dick.
Let's fucking go. Anyway,
Can
he
I say
made
this flight attendant is totally second wife occupation? You know what I mean? Like when this guy is
that's funny.
he is really knee deep in some ego. Time to get myself someone who has a job that is just a full-time job and really a career, but they think they're going to be a poet. You know what I mean? I guarantee this woman's like, yeah, sure, I work for British Airways, but really I want to dance.
Yeah, so anyway, Rikidozan basically fears, because this is like the announcement. They mentioned that he's Korean. He is scared of the young fans will care. They don't.
Yeah, they do
Because
not.
the way it's written is Japanese. Rikidozan, Japanese pro wrestler of Korean descent, is in Korea for 1 week at the invitation of Kyung Park of the Republic of Korean military government. This is the other thing is since he
Oh,
had originally
you're
had his family in North Korea. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
you're missing the part we're going, and Rikidozan will be using the toilet while in Korea, and he will be clogging all those toilets.
The plumbing is not good enough to take his strong shits.
His strong Japanese shits will destroy the Korean plumbing, and everyone in Japan. Very good.
But this is a lot like you hear about Cuban refugees in America, where it's like he just like basically he has a daughter that he really hopes makes the Olympics just so he can see her again.
Oh my
Because he can't
god.
see his daughter because she's from North Korea. He stood at the border of the demilitarized zone between South and North Korea and just like took his shirt off and yelled, just hoping his family would hear him, which is one of the saddest things I've heard. And we do a wrestling podcast. People commit
Yeah.
suicide all the time in front of their
There's
husbands and
something about
wives.
removing your clothing at a border is just so fucking brutal. Could one
Yeah.
of you soldiers tell my daughter that I like her? I don't love her. I don't want her to be soft.
So he also, to round out his career, he faces the Destroyer. Every single match this guy does is amazing. Like, it's such a huge event, all these matches. He's got, like we said before, this is Japanese professional wrestling is just Rikidozan pretty much until his retirement.
Yeah, like here's the weird thing about Rikidozan is you also never hear like Blassie is basically the only opponent I could name. Like it's basically his entire career is Saturday morning superstars,
Yeah.
and there's like one match where there's Jeopardy. Like Rikidozan, let me say this. great timing in terms of dying because it solidified his legacy in such an amazing way. But the way he comports himself within Japan, fuck me, this is how you protect your spot. Because also, name one person who's complaining that this guy's on top. I like even Blassie seems to be like, well, he was a nice man who let me kill those 5 people.
Well, he doesn't ever overstay his welcome, and he's also very smart in that, like, this is towards the end of his career, of course, because we're getting into 1963. He lost to the Destroyer, Dick Beyer, and he lost clean in the ring to Dick Beyer. And this draws 64% of Japanese televisions watching his match. This match is rating than the 87% for his previous bout with Thez. Most people in Japan now had a TV set, so it equated to roughly 70 million people. And
Jesus.
This is
So
70 million
the
people.
amount of people that listened to this program saw Rikidozan
It's a Super Bowl.
fight Dick Beyer.
Yeah, 1/3 of the people that listen to this program.
Yeah. Can I just say this? How the fuck are we only hearing about a wrestler named Dick Beyer now? Penis purchaser? Oh my god.
That's like in my video game. There's a guy who's one of the new
video
draftees.
game?
The video game I invented, NBA 2K22. I refuse to buy 23 until it's cheaper. There's a automated guy named Guy Ryder, and I'm like, I don't care what position he plays. Guy Ryder is on the team.
Of course. What is your team called?
Oh no, I haven't. It's not a special team. I'm just the New York Knicks. But Guy Ryder will definitely be a featured player on the New York Knicks.
Why are you doing the Knicks?
Because they're bad. I like to rebuild the team.
I want the Vancouver Grizzlies to come back.
No, they had their chance.
Remember Big Country? Brian, whatever the fuck his name was?
Brian Reeves, yeah, he was good, but he just, he liked cake. Good for him. Anyway.
Who doesn't?
He fucking gets married a 4th time, Rikidozan was, because baby.
Come on, Ricky.
Yeah.
The flight attendant flew
Ricky
the coop?
Hastings.
Yeah, what is this guy? A member of my family? Who is he?
Yeah. He was said his 4th vows for his 4th wife. He refused to get out of the car. He just called in and said, "You get it. I've said it. I don't want to say it again."
Yeah.
And then he hung up the phone and he took a shit.
Yeah, but the minister began the vows by saying, "Well."
Yeah, like, okay, well, the bride's family is here, and Rikidozan has one guy he met at a sandwich place who doesn't really know his name.
Yeah, we are here to marry a woman who will be crying in 6 months because her husband refuses to close the door when he's shitting, and his shits don't even smell like poo; they smell like dead things.
So, as we mentioned, off the hop, we're gonna get into Rikidozan's death. Towards the end of his career, I don't know if this is a thing or if it's just common sense in wrestling history, but he basically outlines how you gracefully exit Japanese professional wrestling, which is he does a lot of tag matches because he can no longer really wrestle long matches.
It also gives him an opportunity to start drinking heavily in the ring because his tag team partner was his own distended liver.
Yeah.
Stan Hansen just lariated Rikidozan's distended boozy liver. He's covered in goo.
Every single feud was just someone hid his Gatorade.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah, that's right. And then they had the big blow off match was Ricky. They had to do it in the morning, and it was Rikidozan with full DTs beat 11 men to death.
Yeah, they always do it. That's the stipulation every heel wanted was it takes place at 9 a.m. And he's like, 9 a.m. Oh fuck! Oh,
I knew a guy. This is my favorite drunk justification of which is I knew a guy who claimed he never drank in the morning because he would just wait until he would just wake up before everyone else at a house party and then just drain all of the half opened beers from the end of the night chaos. And he's like, all of those were open the night before. It doesn't count.
Well, that's good. Was that guy me?
No, that guy. I was about to say his full name. That guy also, and I stand by this completely. We once went for breakfast. The service staff was so bad. He stood up. He walked up to the waiter and he was like, "I'm not paying for my breakfast. That's on you. That's how bad the service was." And he walked out and left. And I was like, "Wow!" And we didn't pay. It's pretty crazy.
So Rikidozan dies at 60, or sorry, he's 39, and at 39 he's already like, this guy can't move. We're gonna have a whole fucking We're just gonna have to have a marching band play a complete song, and then so no one notices he's in the ring because it's um that bad. So
I
anyway, here.
love show business in this time period because no one's thought is ever, let's just have them stop. It's always like, what distraction can we create so they can keep going, baby? Like, it's so funny.
So yeah, well, I mean, that's the problem. This is the weird thing about fighting, like actual boxing and UFC. Boxing's not as bad, but UFC certainly is. It's like by the time these guys, everyone wants to pay to see them fight, they suck. So it's just like trying to find someone who doesn't look completely shit that they can knock out and make it look like a actual fight. And usually the guy you just match it too well, and the other guy beats your new star or
Is
old star.
that
Sorry.
true of all UFC, or is it like it's the like what I'm trying to say is like, are all the people that I become aware of, because my following of the UFC is very much like a it's like a section of the newspaper I flick by. So I'm like,
Yeah.
Nathaniel Diaz. You know what I'm saying? Like, is there like one or two guys that make it without being totally fucked? Or is it by the time I'm aware of them, they're just basically a dead person?
I think McGregor's the guy. I think you'd say McGregor's the guy who like got big and was on top at the time where he was um the best at fighting, if that makes like his prime fighting and his drawing prime were kind of at the same time, but everyone
It
else is
seems like
pretty much
him
on the you can
It
look
seems
at
like
the
him
say
and Ronda
pay-per-view
Rousey
guys.
were the two people that were their prime and their drawing prime were at the same time. And the problem now with the UFC is they've never been able to get someone lined up at that same time. Like usually they're like,
Well, the UFC, much like WWE now, has that sweetheart deal where it's like every time they have a TV show, the UFC has a fight night. It's the equivalent to them selling 350,000 pay-per-views. So they no longer need what they're doing right now. Get on this little tangent, and then we'll wrap up Rikidozan with talking about his fun little murder.
ooh,
What they're doing now is they're doing the Contender Series. So they're signing all these guys to $10,000 per fight and $10,000 a win. So the most you can make is $20,000, and that is of course with no expenses paid.
of course.
You have to fly out to
Oh,
your corner. You have to cover your fucking
welcome
training.
to show business post fucking COVID, my friend. How did
No,
we get
this
to
is the UFC's
Nathaniel?
been doing this
Do
from
not.
time.
No, no, I agree. I'm saying that they are
Oh yeah.
the forerunners of what we will all be living through.
Oh yeah. I mean that was an interview with Christopher Titus, but he's like, oh yeah, everyone's like, oh fuck, post 2008, every producer's like, oh man, yeah, sorry, there's not as much money. It's like, well, what are you getting paid? He's like, oh, the same as I did in 2007. Anyway, um, all right, so here are the court transcripts. Around 11:10 p.m., Ricky was talking to a club hostess. When Murata pushed past him, the man who stabbed him, Ricky said, "Hey, you bastard, you stepped on my foot." Murata denied that, but admitted, "My shoulder may have touched yours. You're a big man, and it couldn't be helped in such a narrow space." Heavily drunk, Ricky got angry, shoved Murata, kicked him in the stomach, knocked him near the doorway in the lobby. He sat astride Murata and struck him in the head relentlessly. Murata pulled a mountain knife, which is about 5 1/3 inches in length, and stabbed. So he pulled out my dick
Yeah, yeah.
exactly and stabbed Ricky in the left side of his abdomen.
Same level of sharpness.
Same level of sharpness, and there's also pee on it, like my dick. I pee on my own shaft.
Of course you do.
Holding his belly, Ricky went on stage and using the microphone said, "Ladies and gentlemen, be careful. There's a killer in the club. You better go home right away." And there had been claims that Ricky sang Mac the Knife because it was the 60s and there's always some weird lie. His entourage persuaded him to see a surgeon. He didn't want to see a surgeon, but to avoid public attention, he went to obstetrics and gynecology hospital near his apartment. 4 parts of his small intestine were pierced. The wounds were so serious, they asked a surgeon from a nearby hospital to perform an abdominal operation. There was a rumor that Ricky refused a business deal, and organized crime, which Murata belonged to, wanted to control the wrestling promotion in favor of the rival group. The grudge could have influenced Murata, but the incident still seems like just a drunk fight, small guy, stab, big guy. Also, Murata would visit his grave every single year on the day he murdered him, which is supposed to be a sign of like sorrow, but does seem kind of like, yo, I murdered you. I'm gonna punch the grave. Ox Baker's here also punching a grave right next to me.
The other thing that is not mentioned about didn't mention about Rikidozan's death is against doctor's orders. He began drinking immediately after both surgeries to deal with the stab wound.
Yes.
And caught things like peritonitis.
He's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Like a Skid Row fucking alcoholic.
Yeah, he's a Dylan Gott 2017 style alcoholic. Brooding,
I had
dangerous,
stopped drinking
sexy.
at that point. So for all those who
2015?
Dylan got trivia heads out there,
2015?
2015, I was very much drinking.
Yeah, yeah,
There was
yeah.
drinking a lot, doing cocaine. I've stopped drinking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's weird is you still do blow all the time.
That is my favorite type of guy. Oh, booze, I
Oh,
don't
that
touch the
guy.
stuff.
That guy is a.
Anyway, I don't
Let me
have a
say who that guy
septum.
is. That guy is really part of the Toronto stand-up community. I have never seen a concentration of people more in my life than in Toronto, Canada. And this is actually a general thing for everyone. Is so many people in Toronto are sober and are just like, oh, I still do pills I find on the ground though. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I smush up whatever's in a medicine cabinet and snort it, but I don't
Yeah,
drink
yeah.
booze.
I'm not addicted to alcohol. I'm
I
addicted to
don't want to be
fentanyl.
bloated.
Yeah, I want
Anyway,
to be hot and
John,
relaxed. Tell me.
Rikidozan, part three. Um, let's not do best and worst. Let's just say
Best party's murdered, best party's dead. Worst party was alive at all. That's
what
what I say.
happens. What happens if Rikidozan quickly, please, if Rikidozan lives, let's say, another 20 years, because
If
that
Ricky
takes him
Dozan
to 1983.
if Rikidozan lives another 20 years, I think he physically is going to start really falling apart because that drinking is going to keep up. Giant Baba will basically, instead of forming All Japan will just be JWA. New Japan still is, I guarantee, created. Antonio Inoki just is a rival with Rikidozan, and it's a blood feud like craziness, and also like it's such like so much more insane than the New Japan All Japan feud, and the New Japan All Japan feud is also insane. For example, do you know that New Japan and All Japan, for like huge swaths of their competition, were running house shows at the same time in the same cities? Like they would
That's right.
schedule their tours at the same time.
This is also, I think, this is another thing. I would say the exact same thing, except for I think the JWA is independent of All Japan and New Japan, and I think that
No,
that's.
Giant Baba doesn't ever leave Rikidozan. Giant
You don't
Baba
think so?
knows. Yeah, I do not think so because I know the Giant Baba goes. I am the protege that doesn't rebel. I'm the great like. He's exactly what Ricky always wanted,
Oh, he
and the
wants that like magic wand of like wrestling is this guy, so I'm taking the mantle from him.
exactly. And Antonio Inoki will always be, because Rikidozan is a man who loves chaos, created that rivalry in his life so that in his death, chaos still can reign.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing of guys like Rikidozan, and I'll say stretch it on a much, much, much lower scale. A guy like Vern Gagne, um, guys who are promoter and star. It's if these guys just wanted to make money or had some creative vision other than me, big bad. I no one never lose fight, never lost a fight. Now I'm the big guy, daddy. Then Vern Gagne would have just retired. If this sounds awful, but if Vern Gagne would have just died in 1975, the AWA would be have been a much more interesting. Well, I guess
A
maybe
complete,
Greg, but I mean whoever's in position to take it over. But like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's again, it's an interesting thing in that, yeah, like, we're in a place where over the summer, basically AEW and WWE switched in terms of esteem of the wrestling fan, of like the assumption that this company likes us, so they're going to do the things we like, has switched in the last 4 months. And I think that that is probably much truer about how wrestling fans feel about wrestling products in general. So I think that, we change one detail of wrestling history, I think it's going to completely and totally like switch how a company goes. That said, I think success in the wrestling business is completely based off of when did the old guy who used to run this stop and was taken over by a new young guy. In
yeah,
that, you want to know how you really save AEW? If Tony Khan takes a step back and they just bring in a production staff for a year and then he fires them, AEW beats WWE. What the AEW really needs right now is two dicks with spreadsheets to come in and go, no, yes, no, no, yes, no, 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 yes, no.
well, everything needs to be run like the Marvel Studios is, which is, hey, we got all these hyper nerds. They're gonna have a bunch of ideas, and then we're gonna filter it out through this dude who just like is a good editor, which Triple H seems like a good editor. So it's like it's always like the first 6 months to a year of a booker is always great, and then the guy goes nuts because no one should be doing that much work. No one should be managing talent and writing the story. Like that's not; those are two
Because also
individual
at a certain
things.
point you're gonna hate the talent, because the talent, like,
You can't
there's
be in HR and
no.
production. That's just
Yeah,
insane.
because also like you're getting a call from fucking one of the Uzos. What if I'm given money and
Yeah.
that's my gimmick? No, Like,
So
imagine having to pitch Brock Lesnar on an idea. Brock, I'm on the phone. Brock, you just said you're on the phone. Not me though.
call Paul. Tell
Call
Paul.
Paul. Paul does it.
We're done now.
You know what religion
John,
Paul is? See you later, Dylan.
you know what religion Paul is? It's the bad one. He's the heel. He's the heel. Anyway, next week we're going to talk about someone. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, fuck you for wondering. Ladies and gentlemen,
Fuck
thanks for coming
off.
to our fucking houses. Yeah, fuck you. Fuck off.
Eat our dicks, fuck our asses. Now, here's the other thing.
Found me. Found
We did
Dylan.
this one on Zoom, so hopefully it works out.
If not, you guys will
You'll
have seen
know.
another recorded version that's annoyed. Will be annoyed.
No, and then I'll just release the chat we just did for Patreon on our Rego feed. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Goodbye.